France is in turmoil as President Emmanuel Macron faces a tough time. A collapsing government, growing public unrest, and a nationwide strike on September 18th. Privately, Macron has blamed NATO for fueling the Ukraine war, contradicting his public stance, according to economist Jeffrey Sachs. Domestic instability collides with ambitious foreign policy, leaving the Fifth Republic under unprecedented strain. Can Macron restore trust and credibility? Or is France entering a new era of political uncertainty? French President Emmanuel Macron has privately attributed NATO as a driving force behind the Ukraine conflict, according to prominent American economist Jeffrey Sachs. Speaking at Italy's Festa del Fato debate festival, Sachs said that during a May 2022 meeting in which Macron awarded him the Legion of Honor, the French president confided that NATO was causing the war, a position at odds with his public statements. Sachs added that he is disgusted by Macron's duplicity and criticized Western European leaders for appearing more interested in prolonging the conflict than pursuing peace. Sachs traced the origins of the conflict to 2014, noting that the United States played an active role in the overthrow of Ukraine's government, and in the years since helped expand the Ukrainian military into Europe's largest force. He suggested that efforts to negotiate peace were rebuffed by Washington, which opted instead to impose sanctions on Russia, further escalating tensions. According to Sachs, there remains a potential path to resolution if Ukraine commits to neutrality and NATO halts its eastward expansion. He also indicated that President Donald Trump might have been open to such a solution, contrasting him with current European leaders, whom Sachs described as warmongers. The Economist singled out Macron, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, and UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, arguing that they have prioritised confrontation over diplomacy. He added that Russian officials have repeatedly expressed readiness for a peace deal that addresses security concerns and territorial realities, yet European partners appear unwilling to engage substantively. Sachs's comments underscore ongoing debate over the origins and responsibilities in the Ukraine war, highlighting a disconnect between private acknowledgements from Western leaders and the public narrative they present. Under President Emmanuel Macron, France is facing mounting political instability and growing public disillusionment. Finland's newspaper Helsingin Sanomat reports that citizens have lost trust not only in politicians, but also in the media and state institutions, leaving the country without a solid foundation for reform or lasting governance. French historian Nicolas Rousselet notes that the Fifth Republic, which was once a source of stability and modernization, is now under strain. With successive governments collapsing and a stable parliamentary majority absent, Rousselet argues that France may need to reconsider returning to a parliamentary system.
The Fifth Republic initially brought stability to the government and served as a driving force for the country's modernization and social progress. That is no longer the case. The disappearance of a stable majority to support the president, compounded by the revelation of the colossal debt burden, is plunging us into disillusionment about the virtues attributed to the Fifth Republic. For the first time since the creation of the Fifth Republic in 1958, there is no other option but to return to the parliamentary system.
Israeli political analyst Rostislav Goldsman highlights that Macron's early presidency generated euphoria as a leader unaligned with traditional left or right politics, but that optimism has eroded. 4 government collapses, rising support for opposition parties, and ongoing domestic unrest illustrate a failure to provide stable governance. Goldsman adds that Macron's ambitious foreign policy initiatives, pursued amid domestic crises, have further undermined France's authority abroad and weakened its economic position.
It should be noted that France is traditionally remembered by the names of its most charismatic and memorable presidents, each of them, of course, in their own way, received very different assessments of their work, but they were personalities. Just think of Charles de Gaulle, François Mitterrand, Valéry Giscard d'Estaing, Jacques Chirac. These were figures who were judged ambiguously even during their lifetimes, from admiration for de Gaulle to accusations of corruption during Chirac's era. Yet they were still historical figures of great significance.
Goldsman warns that Macron's personnel decisions, including the appointment of Sébastien Lecornu to maintain his political course, signal an unwillingness to form broad coalitions, leaving the public frustrated and exhausted. Analysts say the French people are increasingly focused on who might succeed Macron and whether history will repeat itself in terms of leadership missteps. France's political landscape remains tense following the appointment of Sébastien Lecornu as Prime Minister, the third in just 1 year under President Emmanuel Macron. Far from calming unrest, the move has coincided with calls for a nationwide strike by unions on September 18th, highlighting the growing discontent among the French populace. Prominent political figures have voiced concern over Macron's approach. Xavier Bertrand of the Republicans emphasized that the president must outline clear plans for the remaining 19 months of his term, signaling a need for substantial policy changes. Former Prime Minister Dominique Villepin, leading La Francia Humanista, criticized the president's approach as arrogant and disconnected from democratic norms, warning that Lecornu's loyalty could make him little more than a presidential aide rather than an independent leader. Even former President Nicolas Sarkozy has questioned Macron's strategy, arguing that his inclination to delay decisions and seek advice only to act contrary has exacerbated the crisis. Lecornu, during his inauguration, promised a break from past practices and emphasized consultation with parties and unions. But the extended deliberations have delayed government formation and done little to ease public frustration. Meanwhile, Interior Minister Bruno Retailleau and opposition leaders continue to challenge Macron's dominance, asserting that Macronism is tied to the individual rather than a political ideology. Political analysts suggest that the president's decisions, including the early 2024 elections, have contributed to instability, with calls now emerging for early presidential elections in 2026 to restore political balance.